one more comment? It looks to me a little bit passive. I mean, the person seems to be passive in front of the computer, I mean, looking at the computer. And I'm afraid that this is also an idea some of the learners can have. That it is enough, to be there, and the change will happen by itself.
As if it's
some
very
mysterious way, like this little
well,
beings.
you said to say something that it gives us the idea there is something mysterious happening between man and machine, right? Or something that's it's not so easy to explain, or this is also a possible reading of it, right?
Yes. I think just following on from that, to me, it's not just passive, but it's somehow automatic in a way that there's very little room for agency to change. To those sensors on the head are operating sort of synapses that are automatic, that you can't really intervene in to redirect or change, or at least that's a possible suggestion.
Yeah, like conscious action or agency is not there. Yeah,
but it also
automaticity, I think, is very interesting.
Yeah. But it also, I think, could be seen as an image of a cyborg. Are you familiar with that? It's changing our very notion of the human, what it means to be human, in ways that could be disturbing or uncomfortable because they suggest change.
Yes, yeah. Really suggests a lot, So, I come to synesthesia. This idea developed by Kress, probably not by him, but he rescues the concept that already exists and just develops the idea a little more. When he says it's a new theory of semiosis that will need to acknowledge and account for the process of synesthesia. And then he explains the transduction of meaning from one semiotic mode to another semiotic mode, an activity constantly performed by the brain. Meaning that socially, in our interactions in society, we constantly do this. However, when we come to schools or when we come to formal environments, we try to follow the standards of that place, right? So, but I find this idea of synesthesia very interesting for our purposes of meaning making, and this exercise has started, for some time. So I have published already some research that I developed with the students, undergraduate students, and some of you may feel familiar already with this. I'm not going to repeat everything, but just making you understand the synesthesia that I tried to promote in this research. This is a scene from Dogville, the movie, right? Some of you feel familiar with the movie, Dogville? The movie is really provocative in my opinion, because at the same time it is a movie, it shows a stage. It is completely performed or done on a stage, right? And at the same time, it's a stage that reminds us or takes us straight to a scene in the movie, in a video game, the video game called The Sims. This image was given me by Hiki, by the way, by the time that I was doing the research, right? So you sent me by email, because I wanted to have this kind of connection, right? So I thought that maybe the students would start thinking of this transduction, between one kind of modality that is a movie that is not a movie that shows a stage, and at the same time connected to another scenario that you could see in a video game. Very similar. You see the walls of the house, you look at this, the walls of the house, you have visibility of people do inside their houses. You see there is a plant, for you to see and to follow. I'm not going to rescue everything now from this research, but this was the idea of promoting synesthesia as a way of incentivating students and people to make meanings, right? Look at this other one. This is another research that I developed, and this is also about another movie. It's Eyes Wide Shut. You feel familiar with it?
Yes.
Okay. Eyes Wide Shut, for me, has the structure of a chat room. Completely. This was my synesthesia, and I wanted to check with the students whether this would happen among them as well, because I selected for my research students who were familiar and who participated in chat rooms. So why chat rooms in this movie? This movie shows the scene. The man had a certain, let's say, challenge to participate in a certain private room, private club, and for him to enter that private club, he had to wear a mask and use a nickname. So just similar to when people have to enter a chat room, that they have their nicks, then they have to wear masks, and then they can choose the kind of identities they may have inside the chat room, right? So this was also another way of promoting synesthesia. So scenes of the movie, right? And this is also a meaning-making practice. Do I still have time? Am I okay? Not quite. So let me just go through fast, to this. So this is a comics that I also took to teacher education program, asking the teachers to try to understand what education was like in this comics, right? Such as Education for a New World Order. And they felt a bit, let's say, disturbed by it. And it was a little bit hard for them in the beginning to make meanings, or to elaborate meanings, to construct meanings, but some ideas came up, such as the teacher is teaching wrong assumptions, or not well prepared, or testing the student's attention, or education for a new world order in this image is wrong because it's inadequate. It brings inadequate assumptions to society's needs. I mean, the teacher shows inadequate or wrong assumptions, right? Students are still trained to reproduce without critical thinking, although some theories have been revisited in today's education, allowing flexibility in their interpretations. The students are not taught to interpret or reason, but to repeat. While teacher works in an innovating concept, the students don't get it and do what they are used to, repeating. Example, understanding that this idea was an innovating one. Not going to ask you kind of meaning that you would make to this, right? But just for you to have an idea of the kind of practice that was done with teachers, right? So this is the other hermeneutic perspective that I mentioned, right? I'm always wondering, or I'm always trying to understand why people make meanings the way they do. What makes them make meaning the way they do, right? And why, I also want to know why people don't feel confident to make meanings, but they feel confident to reproduce inherited or given meanings. This is one of the, let's say, some of the questions that I have in my research, right? So, I'm just going to skip this, right? So this is in fact the theory that I've developed based on Walkyria, the author that has a lot of work on hermeneutics, when he explains critique intrinsically connected with crisis, when explaining that both critique and crisis come from the same root in Greek. And the apprehension and practice of a crisis-criticism relationship may directly lead to the rupture of a traditional pattern, or of a logic reasoning, or the breaking or opening of an interpretive circle. That is, my attempt then is to find resource, material, or new patterns that allow the breaking of standards that students probably bring to class. I'm just trying to make connections between what a classroom should be like and society, okay? Or trying to find, not to extinguish or to finish with the rules in schools or universities, but also, let's say, adding something to their education, right? As a way of promotes meaning making. I think, yeah, just showing you some resources that I've made use of, and then I'm finished. See, showing the relation between a comic strip and a photograph. Some of you feel familiar with this images that I've shown, and various events I've been to, right? Okay, so this is the Through Other Eyes project, and the alien perspective approach as another approach that can be developed. This has to do with the ability to decenter from cultural norms and behavior that previously have been taken for granted within a social constructivist framework of learning. In a certain sense, I see this kind of theory, is closely related to what I've been doing in terms of synesthesia and also hermeneutic perspective when meaning making. Okay, in meaning making. I think I'm going to stop now, and then we're going to listen to Diana, and then we come back and discuss. Maybe you have something else to add or say or comment or complain or protest. Just feeling familiar. Thank you very much.